Hello everyone, Cyber here, bringing you guys a new installment of Pokemon teams for anime characters. I'll briefly go over the rules real quick, but if you want a more detailed so information of the rules, it will be in the description below. But for now, I'll briefly go over the rules. Rule 1. There must be a minimum of 6 Pokemon on a team. There can be some exception to this rule. Rule 2. So Pokemon must have a reason for being on their anime character's team. Rule 3, no major legendaries. Rule 4, Pokemon does not have to fully evolve. And Rule 5, one gimmick per team member, meaning Mega and Gigantamax. With all of that, I want to briefly go over solo leveling as a series alone, as I find it enjoyable but not compelling, if that makes sense. I feel like solo leveling is the perfect ideal male fantasy of a self-insert fantasy world, I suppose, where you're strong, powerful, and constantly growing strong and powerful, I guess. It is not the most perfect anime series I've ever seen, but it's definitely enjoyable to an extent. I wish it was a little more complex, but at the same time, I can't really say I hate it either. So, Jinwoo is, well, not interesting to the same extent, but his series leaves a lot of questioning too. But I will set aside those thoughts to the side, as I do still enjoy the series. So let's get on with this said Pokemon team. The first member of Jinwoo's Pokemon team is Gengar. Okay, so this is a bit of a stretch, but hear me out. Gengar is known as the Shadow Pokemon, and for being that, Jinwoo is known as the Shadow Monarch, having the title and such, so it fits to the same extent. While I think there could be other mons, I feel like this would be his main starter, as Ghastly is not considered the strongest Pokemon out there. Like, he definitely seems as weak, but this Pokemon also represents Jinwoo as he grows more powerful and, to an extent, darker. So, and with his wide array of moves, it definitely seems fitting for Jinwoo. He would have it as both his Mega and Gigantamax form, as well as having the two Z crystals of Ghostium Z and Dracanium Z. The dragon one is more or less for the people who read the webtoons, so that is the only bit of information you will get for that one. As the Ghostium one, well, it just seems quite fitting, as he would be known as the Shadow Monarch, and I feel like Ghost would be more of a fitting choice. I thought about giving him the Dark Z Crystal as well, but I just kind of held off on that, which is 2. Next up, we have some of the other Ghost-type Pokemon in Jinwoo's team. I feel like Jinwoo might primarily have a lot of Ghost-type Pokemon, considering the Shadow Monarch ability is to raise the dead. Ghosts are undead, so it fits well. This would include Spiritomb, Aegislash, Ceruledge, Mismagius, and Annihilate. I'll go over them briefly. Mismagius might seem the most confusing, but I'm making that as a reference to the magical side of his abilities, plus with some of the shadows being wizards, it's reference to that. Spiritomb is known to hold hundreds of thousands of evil spirits and souls within its keystone. And considering how many Jinwoo can hold, that honestly fits. Aegislash. In its Pokédex, it actually says that it follows the true leader, King, around. So it would follow Jinwoo as it is, as he has gained the title of the Shadow Monarch. Plus, it would reference the knights he has as his first shadows, so Ceruledge would also reference that, but as well as Jinwoo's overall fighting style of using daggers. While these are more sword-like, they are still quite so sharp and fast for him. And Annihilate. So, well, Primate dies, and it comes out as Annihilate. It fits in that regard, and I do think aesthetically it could definitely work for him. For the most part, this team is consisted of the Ghost type members, as we already have all 6 members of a team, but I'm still giving him more, as this does not represent all his shadows he has obtained. The next batch are Chestnut, Excelsior, Phalanx, Corviknight, and Surfetch. These represents the first batch of Jinwoo's first batch of shadows. Primarily, it's Phalanx, Excelsior, Corviknight, and Surfetch. As most of them was Knights, as well as Blood Red Egress. I would say Cerula's probably be the Egress of the group most likely, so you could say it's that. However, Chestnut actually represents Jinwoo's human shadow, Irons, as he is a big brawling tank and has a shield. So I think it fits for Iron to be that Pokemon exactly. Not much else to really say, but Phalanx is more or less a reference to how many shadows he has, as they come in groups at times. And I figure at least one group-like Pokemon would fit, as this one honestly fits him the most. Honorary mention would have been Dugtrio, but I felt like it did not fit him aesthetically as Phalanx does. Next up are Beartic and Blood Moon Ursaluna. This actually referenced a time when he was trapped in a red gate and obtained the Ice Bears, which is in the form of Beartic, but Blood Red Ursaluna would be the tank of the group. So quite literally, as he is tough and durable, as well as quite big. He would also be Jinwoo's mount for a while, as well, Ursaluna's in Ancient Hisui was mounts. I specifically chose Blood Moon Ursaluna as it is the most intimidating looking one, plus has the most scars on his body. Kind of like Tank from Solo Leveling, I guess. Still though, it doesn't compare to his other mounts, the Wyvern he gets later in the series, but this is definitely a powerful Pokemon nonetheless. Next up, we have Scizor, Durant, Noivern, and Grimmsnarl. I'll go over each one at a time. First, Scizor and Durant. This represents the Jeju Island raid, as well as the Shadows, Beru, and the ants he had obtained. Beru specifically would be represented by Scizor, as I feel like he is the most accurate, despite him not being the same color or intimidating look to him. He might also be the secondary Mega of the team if Gengar wasn't the Mega. I am kind of debating on that. As Durant was originally just going to be the only one, then I really thought about Scizor and like, yeah, that makes sense. Noivern represents the Jinwoo's Wyvern shadow that he obtained a while back. I'm for some reason blanking on the name, so sorry if I cannot remember it, but it is the right build to be a Wyvern, so it honestly is the best choice in terms of mounts. Or at least dragon-type mounts. And finally, Grimmsnarl. He would represent Tusk. So, the high magic orc user that he obtained in the almost S rank gate. It's the most orc-like Pokemon, so it would represent all the orcs he has obtained. Now, before we continue, I would like to mention that the next segment will get into some manga spoilers. If you don't care about that, you can continue, or if you rather not know, then please hop off now. As you can tell, the background for this one has changed, as this is the point of the story where Jinwoo's own powers had fully unlocked to the full Shadow Monarch, changing it from the bright blue we're used to the dark purple. We also have only 3 new additions, as afterwards, Jinwoo didn't really get that many noteworthy shadows. Firstly, I would like to go over Gyarados and Arbok, represented the Nagant shadow he had obtained, called Jimma. I believe that is how you say his name, but I could have been butchering it. It is a serpent-like shadow, where it's not really used all that much, to be honest. He got it to just only get a new shadow, so it really wasn't noteworthy compared to some of the Season 2 shadows. And a shadow he temporarily got says Kaimish, which represents Salamence. It was only temporary, as the shadow that he extracted from the corpse of was long dead. He didn't kill himself, as that dragon particularly was a nation level threat, having to recruit other S-rank hunters to even take it down, and still losing few. So, stated by Thomas, the #1 hunter in America, and the world possibly. However, he does get 3 of the same shadow dragons later, when a incident with a gate in the sky was over Korea. This is not the only shadow he would have gotten, with Bellion was also amongst these shadows, but I did not have a perfect representation of the character as one of these Pokemon, so sorry for those who wanted to know more about him or what I would have thought about him. It's just that I didn't have a good enough depiction or even, well, anything to choose from for him. So yeah, I'm sorry for that. As now we'll go over to the legendary segment of this video. For legendaries for Jinwoo, it is just Giratina. I cannot think of any other legendaries that would fit in perfectly, as this is also the Distortion Pokemon, as well as the Pokemon who is a representation of the devil, compared to Arceus, who is like the god of Pokemon. So outside of that, this is the only Pokemon, plus this could be like the Ashbourne representation, so the previous Shadow Monarch. And that is it for this video. I hope you guys at least enjoyed this one. It did take me a bit longer than expected, because I wanted to make sure I got every kind of Pokemon for him that would represent either his shadows, the creatures he's revived to his shadow army, as well as any potential character moments and such. But with Jinwoo, he is pretty flat as a character. Otherwise, this will be doing it for this video. Sometime this week I will be doing What If Deku was Spider-Man, so don't worry, this is not the only video of this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it at least. Cyber out. Peace.